Welcome back. In the previous class, we have seen what are switch statements. Today, we are starting with the introduction of loops, one of the major important concept which is required in any programming language, and we are doing this in C++. So loops are very, very important. If you have no idea about loops, that's perfectly fine. Today I'm going to tell you each and everything about it. And moreover, I will even give you examples of how many types of loops are there in C++. And also I'll make separate sessions on each type so that you understand them much more clearly. So when we talk about loops, as the word suggests, it is just a circle. You can understand it that way. You can take an example of, let's say I take an example of a clock. Now clock is a very nice example of a loop. Why? Because if you see every day, if I draw a clock, let's say this is a clock and the hour hand and the minute hand is there. Now if it's 3 p.m. right now in the afternoon, and tomorrow also at this very moment it will be 3 p.m. So something is going and coming, and then again going and coming, again going and coming. So this is a loop, and clock is an example of an endless loop. It does not have any end. It does not have any end. No end for this, because time doesn't stays for anyone. It doesn't have any end. So these kind of loops are there. These kind of loops are also there in C++. But the best thing about the loops in C++ that we can control them. We can stop them whenever we want. We can make them run till where we want. We can make them run how we want. Then what will happen is it will do some operations very fast rather than we manually doing it, which will be time consuming. And that is the reason we use loops. So if I have to give you a formal idea about loops in general, if let's say I have to write a statement, any statement, if I have to write n times means the number is not fixed. It can be, let's say 100, it can be 1000, it can be 10,000, it can be 100,000. We don't know. It can be n times. Now, if you think about writing a statement, let's say 100 times, and I'm taking the smallest number. If I write it manually also, if I type it manually, you can assume the time it will take. But when I put it in a loop, it will be done in seconds. Even if you take 100,000 times, so this also can be done in seconds depending on the compiler. So you can imagine the saving of time and resources when you're using the loops concept. So different ways are there, different methods are there, and different types are there in which we can make a loop and then we can run it different or as many times as we want. Now, when we talk about the types of loops, in C++, we have two types. One we call as an entry control loop, entry controlled, and another one is called as a exit control. So two types of loops are generally present. Now, what is this entry and exit control? Well, in entry control, what happens is generally it actually tests the condition, tests something, and then it goes inside the loop body. So it tests and then go inside the loop's body. But whereas in exit control loop, what it does is test the condition at the end of the loop body. So that is the difference. The beforehead or the entry control loop is simply that it tests the condition before it enters the loop body. Whereas over here, it tests the condition at the end of the loop body. That is, one expression, one statement is done, and then it checks for the condition. Now in C++, loops are categorized into two parts as I have shown, and they are also further subdivided. So we can say first one is there are two entry control loops and one exit control loop. The entry control loop, the first one is called as for loop, and the other one is the while loop. And then one exit control loop is the do while loop. So this is the entry control, this is also the entry control, and this is the exit control. Yeah. So in the next sessions, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss each of these loops in much more detail. We'll start with the for loop and then we'll move further, and each and every loop will have a different session, and I will even show you that with a program also. So that was the basic concept of loops and the type of loops which are present in C++. If you have any doubts regarding this, you can put that in the comment section.